Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you how I make my keychain wallets, my quilted, very trendy wallets that you see everywhere, like on TikTok and Instagram now. So there's different kinds that I make and I'm going to show you modifications for each. The most basic is just the little quilted wallet pouch with the tab here. Then the next is where you add the keychain attachment, the hardware, and lastly is where I've added the nice little touch on mine with a fabric bow around the key ring. I'm going to show you how to do both with and without the hardware today, and then the fabric bow will probably be in a future tutorial soon after this. This year in Ginger Patch Designs, I've been bringing a lot of sewing products back into the product lines. I have sewn for years, really since I was a kid, but since I've been paying attention to the trends and trying to really grow in my knowledge and my skills, I realized that I need to learn some new tricks to really level up my products. And so that brings me to today's sponsor of the video, which is Craftsy. Craftsy is an online learning community. There are over 20 different hobbies on there, like photography, drawing, sewing, crocheting, punch needle. I've always wanted to learn how to punch needle. And so maybe when the crazy slows down, I can actually check that out. So basically there's other makers like you and me on there, and they share their expertise through these instructional videos. They're very concise and to the point, but while also providing step-by-step instruction. I'm a visual kinesthetic learner, so having these instructional videos is incredibly helpful and to the point. As crafters or would-be crafters, we often let the overwhelm of learning something completely new stop us from growing our skills and learning to love new hobbies. But Craftsy is a community of makers just like us that are here and ready to help us learn new things. I've actually been needing to learn some new zipper techniques. There's so many different ways to sew in zippers. And so I really appreciated this particular video. The visual nature of the video really helps you learn at your own pace, which is perfect for me. And I can pause it at any time when I get really busy and then just pick up where I left off. The first 1,000 people to join Craftsy using my link will get a full year of premium membership for $1.49. $1.49. You can't even get a Dr. Pepper for $1.49. So whether you're a hobby crafter or a handmade business like me and you're just looking to grow your skills and really level up your products, make sure you click that link down in the description below. The great thing about the keychain wallets, or just even the regular wallets without the keychain, they're a great scrap buster. They don't take hardly any fabric at all. So you're gonna cut, this is just a swatch that I've squared up from my vintage fabric stack. It's like this pretty pink rose. You're gonna cut 2 pieces, 4.5 by 6 inch. So just whatever piece you have, try to maximize your fabric. This is 19 inches, so I could go 6 3 ways here. So I'm gonna cut at 6 inches here. Just for the sake of this video, I'm gonna throw this off to the side. And then 4.5. So there's our exterior pieces, and we're gonna do the same thing for the interior pieces. I'm just gonna do a light, solid baby pink, and this is a little bit wrinkly, so I'm just gonna iron it out real quick, just to make sure it's even. There's our 2 interior pieces, and I already have 2 batting pieces. This is cotton batting, but you can use polyester. You can even use fusible fleece if you have it, but I really recommend either cotton or polyester batting. Now these are our body pieces, but you're also going to need your tabs. So I usually don't do this step until later. What I mean by tabs are these little thingies right here, and then on this one where we put our keychain attachment. I usually make these kind of in bulk, I'll just cut one big long strip, or if I don't have a whole lot left of a particular fabric, I'll just use scraps. Whether you're cutting a long strip or you're using a scrap, it just needs to be 3 inches wide. And I would say, because we're gonna fold it over, I'll show you in just a minute, and then I would say at least 1.5 inches, an inch or 1.5 inches long that we're gonna fold over on our bag. We're gonna take our exterior pieces, and sometimes the batting has stringies on it like mine does, so make sure you take those off. so they don't show through the quilting, and we're just gonna put them on top. Now there are ways to like bulk prep these in like bigger pieces of fabric, but just for now I'm just showing you like the easiest way with individual exterior pieces. And it's okay if your batting piece is a little bit bigger here, we can trim that off later. So we're gonna take this 3-inch wide piece that you're gonna use for your batting, and you're gonna fold it over with wrong sides together. Wrong sides mean like the less vibrant color piece of your fabric, and then this is the right side of the fabric. You're gonna fold it in half and press it. And then you're gonna open it up and fold it in again on itself. And make sure it's even. If they're not even, when you're pressing, it's going to make the final piece uneven as well. Now you could leave this empty, like with no interfacing in here. That is an option. I like my tab to have a little bit of oomph to it, for lack of a better phrasing, especially if I'm using the keychain here, because it's gonna get some wear on it. And so I just literally pulled out, this is a scrap piece of fusible fleece. You could use any kind of interfacing that you have, scrap strip of really thin batting. I'm just gonna cut a thin strip from this fusible fleece to put inside of our zipper tab. And then we're just gonna fold that side back over and make sure your edges line up here. You might have to pull it a little bit, but once you press it, it should stay in place. And if you're afraid that you won't, you can always use your quilt clips to help hold it in place. The last thing you're gonna need before we go to our sewing machine, you're gonna get your zipper. This is, I think it's a 7-inch zipper. I'm not really sure, but we're actually gonna end up cutting some of this off. But you just need one zipper tab. Now this is a great way to just use some of your scraps, as long as it is about 1 inch wide, and I'd say about 2 inches long. That's really all that you need. So what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna fold it, I just fold it in on itself evenly like this, and then I'm gonna fold it over again. Now you can press this if you want to kind of hold it in place, but that's an optional step. So on our zipper, we're gonna put the tab on this zipper end, but this metal piece right here, if the zipper you're using has that, I pull the zipper down and I kind of go like this to make sure they're even, and I snip that off. And then I put my zipper tab on here, just like that. Now, if I'm bulk making these, I will clip these like this, and so I can just like bulk sew a bunch of zipper tabs at a time. It just makes the process easier. So we've got our exterior pieces, we have our pull tabs, our zipper tab, and our interior pieces. Now, usually I bulk prep a lot of this, and I will do like a bunch of zipper tabs, a bunch of pull tabs, and just kind of prep everything before assembly. But that's okay, I'll just walk you through all the steps together today. So I just fold that over to find the center. This is another thing I usually bulk prep. I'll like clip a bunch of my tags in the center, but just to find the center is why I fold it in half, and then I'm gonna sew my tag on right here. Now, if you're curious about how I make my tags, I have a video on that, and I'm actually thinking about doing them a little bit differently in the future. Instead of like ironing them onto a white piece of fabric, I'm thinking about just ironing it like directly onto the liner pieces, just to make it look a little more seamless and not have such a stark white on there. But if you're curious, I'll make sure and tag that down or link that down in the comments for you. And then we'll just snip that off. Okay, liners finished. Now the zipper tab. So for the zipper tabs, you kind of want to make sure you like hold the two sides of the zipper tape together and just make sure that they are together. Also, this probably largely depends on your machine. I'm able to sew over this zipper. This is just a very basic nylon zipper. It's nothing fancy. It's linked down below in my Amazon. But I still go kind of slow just because I don't want this to be the day that I break a needle, which would definitely not be the first time. But I kind of just, I hold the tab in place and then I hold the zipper tape in place as I go, just like that. And then it's nice and even. And depending on how wide your zipper tabs were, if you need to snip them off, like if they're super wide, I do snip them off. I probably didn't need to just then, but sometimes the scraps that I'm using are like super wide and I don't like that much bulk on the sides of them. If you are a beginner sewer or you just don't care about this step, you do not have to do this, but I use a different thread for the top stitching. Like any kind of top stitching or quilting, I use a 30 weight thread. I love the Sulky brand. I'm not sponsored, I just really love it. It's just thicker and it gives it just a more plush look, for lack of a better phrasing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with, I think this is 50 weight Aurifil that I use for just like standard, you know, sewing thread. I do keep the bobbin thread the same because that doesn't matter. I just like the look of the 30 weight on the top. And because I know that someone's probably curious or gonna ask down in the comments, my sewing machine is a Brother Innovus 1500D. It's my baby. I've had it for 10 years, I think. I've taken really good care of it though. I get it cleaned professionally every year and it works like a charm. So for the pull tabs, we're just gonna do a 1/8 inch inseam on both sides. I like to do the open side first just to close that up. Snip that off. So this is my little tub of little coin pouches, and so some of them are longer than others just because like that was probably the last one left on a big strip like this. But this is where I keep them, so I just pull one out and just kind of, you can tell when you go to fold it over roughly how big it's gonna be. And so I'll just take one of these and just kind of use that to gauge roughly how big to make them. See, I can probably get 4 out of this one. This is not a super important step to be accurate. What needs to be accurate is the width. If the length is a little bit long, you can totally snip that off or just make a larger pull tab. That doesn't matter, but the width matters so that it will fit in your keychain hardware when we get to it. So I've got some extra of these for when we do this later. So as far as quilting this, you notice that I'm just using my standard J-foot. I'm not using my quilting foot because you don't need to. This is just 2 layers together. The purpose of a quilting foot is when you have multiple layers on top and bottom, more so to keep that bottom layer from bunching. But I have found that that is just totally unnecessary with this, and it goes faster just using my standard J-foot. Now, how you want to quilt this is completely up to you. You can do an X on such a small piece like I did here. You can do diagonal lines. You can do vertical lines. You can do like a crisscross, like kind of like a patchwork style, whatever you want to do. I'm sorry if I keep hitting my microphone. Now, as far as making the lines even, my machine came with a quilter thingy that goes back here, and I can measure like how far apart I want them to be. I know that some people use the little laser light. That's like super cool. It's on my wish list for later. I'm just gonna stick with the standard diagonal lines just for the purpose of showing you how to do this. Now, a little trick to chain sewing. to get this on there, because trying to get this on a corner could be a little tricky. Go all the way to the end. I pick up. I know that it's pointing this way and that's wrong, but just watch what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go slow and let it catch, and then I'm gonna keep going. Now you could just leave it at a crisscross X if you want to. I want to show you how I do diagonal lines to measure. So I just use my ruler and I measure from the needle how far I want it to go. And this is such a small piece, so I'm gonna do 1.5 instead of 2. On larger pieces, when I wanna do crisscross, whatever style that's called, I do 2 inches. And so you line up the seam that's already done with this quilting tool right here. Pick up the presser foot, go slow at first, let it catch, and then go. Oh, I also forgot. I do so many things without even thinking about it. I'm like on autopilot. So there's a lever back here on my machine that picks up the presser foot, and I just kind of move this out of the way so that I can insert my next piece. You could do this same process like with your quilter measuring foot thingy with vertical lines or horizontal lines. I'm just doing diagonal because I really like the way it looks. But anytime I use fabric that has lines in it already, obviously we're not gonna create diagonal lines on those. All right, so we've got our 2 crisscross quilted exterior pieces. So if you have excess, now would be a good time to trim that off. Like when I have bigger pieces, or again, I'm doing this in bulk, I do this on my cutting mat with a rotary cutter because it's just faster and it saves my hands. Okay, so you're gonna take one of your pieces and you're going to, we're not gonna cut this off yet. You could, but I think for beginners, if you're just learning, we're gonna leave it on there. So we're gonna flip it over, and the top of it is gonna be face down. And I like to leave about however much this is from the side. So yeah, it's like 1/2 inch. So I like to leave a 1/2 inch from the side of my fabric right here. And we're gonna turn the right side of your liner piece over. Oh, another side note, when you're working with solids, it is very easy to lose track of what is the right side and the wrong side because they look almost the same. And guess what? It's okay, nobody cares and nobody can tell the difference. I try to keep them all like the right side facing up, but honestly, sometimes I've probably got them confused, but it's totally fine. If you are new to sewing, quilt clips are gonna be your best friend. They're super cheap. I had like 3 packs of them, and this is what's left of my supply because they do break over the years. They're very cheap, but I need to order some more. And so now we're gonna take this back to the sewing machine. Now for this step, we're gonna need a zipper foot. I do believe just about every standard sewing machine, no matter what kind you have, has a zipper foot. Mine is an I foot. And then you'll need to check your machine's settings for the zipper function, I guess you could say. Like, let me move the camera so you can see over here on my pad, there's like this 103 is my zipper alignment. I think that's what it's called. But most people have like buttons or knobby thingies that just kind of shift to the zipper function. So make sure you do that. Okay, what I like to do, I don't like to start sewing like on the zipper end. I like to start on this end. You're gonna put your presser foot down. Let me pull this back so I can show you. You want to get your needle as close to the actual zipper part as possible, but you don't want it so close that it's literally in this seam right here. You want it just to the right of it as much as possible. And when you're sewing, you can feel where that is. And with your zipper foot, when your zipper foot goes down, it fits very nicely between the zipper teeth and the nylon part on the side of the zipper teeth. Now, you'll see zipper tutorials out there where you like do some basting situations. I can't really speak to that. I never baste anything. I'm not talking about basting in the kitchen like you do a turkey. It's called like basting the stitches on there. I never do that. I just hold it with my fingers and I use quilt clips. Okay, now I'm gonna stop. I'm almost to I cannot speak or think today. The zipper pull thingy. This zipper pull is very small, so I'm not going to do this step. I can easily just sew around it and it's not going to be a problem. But when I sew with bigger zippers, like on my boxy bags, when I use the zipper tape and those really big pulls, I don't cut off here. I just raise my presser foot and then I actually pull the zipper pull down to get it out of the way. But again, this one is so small, you really don't need to do that. But if you're new, actually, I will just go ahead and do it because if you're new watching, you might not want to have to fool with it. You might have to be gentle. Okay, now you shouldn't have to worry about that bulk if you're a newbie. We can go ahead and snip off that excess here. I'm sorry if I'm going kind of slow. Like, I'm just assuming that some people watching are like complete newbies. And so I just don't want to like there to be any confusion. Now, this is something you need to be careful of, that you put your zipper tab or your zipper pull back up here, because if it comes off, this is a wash. You have to completely pick all the stitches and start over. So just finger press that down nice and flat. So this is what we're working with right now. So you're gonna take that other piece. This is becoming messy. And you're going to line it up. Oop, let me trim this off right here so you get a good idea of the next step. Why it's important to make sure that's trimmed up is so you line up these edges nicely. So you'll have another space right here open. And if you're not sure if you lined it up correctly, you can just look. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then we're gonna have all the layers together on this one. My dog is panting really heavily. She just walked in here. If you hear her, she's geriatric. She struggles. Now, if I was bulk sewing, I would have changed back out the 30 weight thread for the 50 weight to save this, because it is much more expensive overall, and then just put the 30 weight back in when it's time for top stitching, which is the next step. We're gonna open up all those layers like this, and I like to press mine down because I don't want there to be any bunching when I do my top stitching. Like sometimes, depending on the batting that you use or the fabric itself, it just likes to not quite lay right. And so this really is not that much of an added time thing, except if you used tags like I do, make sure you do not iron over this, just iron around it. I just kind of quickly go on each side and then add another little press on the other side. Again, you don't have to do this step, I just like to. Now we're going to top stitch along the top. I put my regular presser foot back on here, and we're just gonna stitch along both sides of that zipper, and it's just gonna give it a nice finished look. I love a good top stitch. Look at that, it's so pretty. Now, another thing I do without thinking about is I'm like constantly keeping my fingers on the back of the liner fabrics, because if you have bunching on this side as well, even though you pressed it down, it's gonna affect your zipper opening, and it's just not gonna look very nice. And so I just like always kind of keep it flat while I'm going. Okay, when you get to this step, there's a lot of shifting that goes on, and you kind of have to, assuming that your zipper is installed evenly on both sides and your exterior pieces are not too far to one side or the other when you put them on your zipper. If it is like truly rectangular, for the most part, the way it should be, when you're sewing, you might have to, you know, do some forceful putting back in place. So we're gonna start on this edge about right here. We need to leave a hole in the middle to turn it right side out. And I hope my bobbin thread makes it. I'm gonna back stitch just once. Now this is the part that I'm talking about. When I get to the end here and I swivel it around, I have to make sure I don't want to say pulling because we're not being rough with it, but you're just smoothing gently to make sure it's catching the liner the way it needs to. Okay, my camera keeps wanting to blur, so I hope that you can see what I'm doing. So this is the side that has the zipper tab. You should be able to see your zipper tab right here. So you do not want to sew over your zipper tab. You are going to sew directly next to your zipper tab. And yes, I just took off my quilt clip, but I'm holding the pull tab in place so it does not shift. Okay, this is kind of a delicate process if you're new to it. And so I, even as experienced as I am making these, I've probably made hundreds by now, I just go slow. So I make sure I'm catching all of those layers and I don't shift that pull tab. I back stitch over all parts of the pull tab, especially if it's got that keychain attachment on there. You're gonna be using that sucker a lot. So it needs to be extra reinforced. And make sure you're straight all the way down. Okay, I really hope the camera was not blurry on the other side. If it was, I am so sorry. I don't understand why it's blurry on the other side and not this one. Okay, now this is the side where there is nothing holding that zipper, pulled zipper thingy from coming off. So I like to go over that twice as well. And I do go slow, even though my motor is pretty strong. I like to just go slow over this part, back stitch. Oh no, I ran out of bobbin thread. Ah, I usually feel it. All right, let me fix that and go back over it. Just pop it out. Now, a little note here, like if you didn't, when we were sewing all of the layers together in the previous step, if you didn't get close enough to your zipper tab, there's gonna be a little gap here. That's okay, like if it's like a huge gap, you might wanna turn this wrong side out again and just kind of go back over that because you don't want it too big that something inside of your little wallet is gonna fall out. Okay, and I poke those holes, or not holes, those corners out just so that I can like very nicely and easily do that to the interior lining. So you're just gonna kind of fold it in a little bit, the layers, and we're going to sew that shut. And a little trick I like to do is I grab the top thread and manually use the side of my machine to pull the bobbin thread out and just pull that thread out just a little bit. And that's gonna keep that thread on the underside from bunching when you first start, just because this stitching will be visible. I think somebody called it like a bird's nest or something in the comments recently. And then we're just gonna trim all of those little tails. Sometimes you have a few strings poking through from where you stitched just past the corners. You can just snip that off too. And there we have really nice starts and finishes because we don't have a bird's nest. And then you put it back through, and then you just finish poking out all the holes. Why do I keep saying holes? The corners, not the holes. And then, yeah, there it is. It is nice and finished. You just made your first quilted wallet. Friends, I hope this was super helpful to you. If you want more videos like this, just like easy, quick, market prep, like not gatekeeping really, I'm sure there's another tutorial like this out there. I will do the fabric bows though, where I usually add fabric bows to my keychain hardware. I will do a separate video with the fabric bows very, very soon. I've been meaning to do that. So friends, if you will just give this video a like and subscribe and let me know in the comments what you want to see next.